on my boyfriend's bed after I found out he was cheating on me, and I lit his car on fire. Disclaimers in my story time instead of me on Instagram. My boyfriend and I met in high school. He chased me for about 3 years. This man would tell me every single day that he was in love with me. This was before Instagram, so he would contact me every single day through Facebook. He would send me his favorite songs. He would write me poems. I mean, you can tell this guy was totally obsessed, right? After 4 years of this, I finally said yes to a date. The only reason I kept saying no was because I knew somebody that had dated him, and they told me that he was crazy. I just didn't want to believe it because he seemed so perfect over Facebook. At the time, I was living in Manhattan, so I told him that I wanted the date to be in the city. So he took me to watch a show on Broadway. First off, I was really impressed that he could even afford the tickets because they were to a very expensive show. And before the show, he took me to a really nice dinner. And he proceeded to order everything on the menu. 5 appetizers, 4 main entrees, and a bunch of drinks. The bill came out to about $600. I offered to help him pay, but he said no, as he should. The entire date was really amazing. The only thing that I know now was a red flag is that he was kind of rude to the waiter. Of course, I didn't mention it. Fast forward a few months and he asked me to be his girlfriend. Now, to be honest, I was dating a few other guys at the time and they were all really great, but none of them wanted a serious relationship and that's what I was looking for. So I finally said yes to my ex. Around that time, I started competing in pageants and I got very far. I went to Miss USA. Can you guess who I am? He loved this. Part 2 is up. I pooped on my boyfriend's bed after I found out he was cheating on me and lit his car on fire. Disclaimers in my story time was sent on my Instagram. After he asked me to be his girlfriend, I decided to start competing in pageants, and I got pretty far. I won my state and went on to Miss USA. At that point, my ex and I had been together for about a year. To my face, he always told me that he was so proud of me. He loved that I was so dedicated and disciplined. To get ready to compete, I would work out twice a day. I also had a bunch of classes and held down a full-time job. Here's when things start getting complicated. One night, our friends had a get-together at their house. Our entire friend group were there, and I invited my best friend. Now, my best friend has always had my back. He is my ride or die. Her and I went to the kitchen to get some drinks, and when she went back to where my boyfriend was standing, she overheard the conversation he was having with another friend. Apparently, my boyfriend was telling the other friend that I was crazy, that he thought I had eating disorders because I would work out so much, and that I thought I was better than everybody else because I was competing for Miss USA. My best friend ran over to the kitchen to tell me everything she heard. At first, I thought, are you sure he wasn't joking? She said no, he was completely serious. I was really hurt. Instead of waiting for the party to be over, I confronted him right then and there. Asked him if he was talking bad about me, and then he said no, of course not. And I told him the whole conversation that my best friend overheard. But I told him that I was the one that overheard the conversation. That's when he started gaslighting me. He said that I was overreacting, that I had completely twisted his words. I asked him exactly what he said, and he told me he couldn't remember. I asked him point blank if he felt envious of me, and he said no. He said, you have to get over yourself if you think you're that important. Part 3 is I pooped on my boyfriend's bed after I found out he was cheating on me and lit his car on fire. Disclaimers is not my story time, instead of me on Instagram. After I caught him talking bad about me, he denied everything. And he also told me that I needed to get over myself. I grabbed my best friend and went home. That means my boyfriend stayed at the party by himself. Well, guess what he does? He goes out of his way to find a girl to hook up with. And I know this now because a few of my friends who were at the party saw everything go down. Apparently, after I left, he started scouting all the girls. He would go up to each one of them and talk to them. Finally, he went upstairs with one of them. I mean, he couldn't even go somewhere else. He had to do it in front of all of our friends. Multiple people watched this all happen, and most of them knew that we had gotten into a fight before. One of the girls that was at the party actually messaged me and told me that my boyfriend was in the bedroom with another girl. So I ran back to the party. He was already downstairs at that point, but I asked him if it was true. At this point, he had a lot to drink. That's when he starts word vomiting, telling me that he had hooked up with girls that were way better than I was, and that I was so consumed with my pageant competition and that I was too skinny. Then he just started listing all of the girls that he had slept with, and 2 of them were my friends who were at the party. What I did next is probably not the best idea, but I did it. I grabbed a bottle of alcohol and went outside with the lighter. I poured it all over his car and set it on fire. Then I got back into my car with my best friend and went to his apartment. And it just so happens that I needed to poop at the time, so I thought just to do it in his bed. So I squatted over his bed and did my business. Then he messaged me telling me that he was going to press charges on me for his car. Luckily, nobody told on me, so he had 0 proof. And luckily, his car was fine. A few months later, he messaged me apologizing. He said that I was the best thing that ever happened to him, but I ignored his messages. No, I didn't win Miss USA, but I'm proud of myself for what I did to him. Bye.
My elementary school teacher was racist. Story time. So when I was in elementary school, I had this teacher, and we're gonna name her Miss C, which is just the short version of her actual name. Anyways, while we were learning about slavery, she thought it was a good idea to do this little experiment. She separated the class into 2 groups, slaves and owners. And anyone who was like brown skin or darker was a slave, and anyone who wasn't was an owner. Now, if you thought that was bad, it gets worse. She gives the owners fake money to bid on us, and anybody who had the highest bid gets that person for the day. And obviously I was a slave, and I got bought by this girl who we're gonna name Sabrina. And Sabrina had me doing all types of stuff for her, carrying her lunch tray, carrying her book bag, doing her classwork. To make things worse, if a slave wasn't doing something that the owner wanted them to do, they would get in real trouble by the teacher. Like extra work, no recess, no snack. So like I said, this teacher was taking this project or experiment very seriously. And I guess at that age, we really didn't understand what was going on or peep how off this experiment was. But the one thing I did notice is that the teacher had said that the next day that we were going to swap roles. So slaves were going to be owners and then owners were going to be slaves. But that never happened. And when we asked about it, she said, that's not really realistic though. So we're not going to do that.
Am I wrong for saying my sister probably has a different dad? My mom and my dad are both super white and super blonde. My brothers, 29 male and 23 male, and me, 26 female, are also super white and super blonde. My sister Nicole, 20 female, has pretty dark skin and 3C natural hair. I wish I could just assume that Nicole has darker skin and curlier hair due to some strange genetic glitch, but I can't. My mom used to have a very close friend who would visit when my dad was gone, and he was black. When Nicole was born, her friend stopped coming around and my parents spent a lot of time fighting. Nicole knows nothing about my mom's special friend. Anyway, we were all eating dinner at my parents' house over the weekend, and Nicole mentioned that she wanted to take a 23andMe genetics test. She's 23 and doesn't know that she is not her father's biological daughter. Okay, my parents got really uncomfortable and told her not to do it. My mom started saying that those tests were a government control mechanism, which is something she would never normally say. It developed into a fight between Nicole and my parents ended up storming into the kitchen. Nicole tried to get me and my brothers to side with her. She kept going on about how crazy it was that her mom thought the DNA tests were some sort of conspiracy and that she was adamant she was going to take one. I said, all right, you can take one, but you should know you'll probably find out some stuff you don't want to know. That just made her more angry, and she asked me what she would find out. I said, you'll probably find out that you have a different dad than you've always thought. But she got really mad and went into the kitchen to confront mom and dad. There was a lot of screaming, and finally, our mom told us all the truth and screamed that Nicole probably has a different dad. My dad already knew, but the conversation really hurt him and he went to take a drive. Nicole turned to me and started saying that I was such an asshole for saying she might have a different dad, and if I hadn't said it, our mom wouldn't have had to say it like that. I said that it was her fault that she went and bothered my mom about it and that she couldn't take no for an answer about the DNA tests. Honestly, I do not care if Nicole has a different dad. She's always been my sister and she always will be my sister, but the way she found out was terrible. Even still, I resent the fact that she's calling me an asshole over it, so I wanted to ask here, am I? My take on stuff like this is that you should never hide stuff from your kids. I think at a certain age, both parents should have been like, you know what? She's going to grow up. She's eventually going to find out. And we want to make sure she finds out on our terms. So either be 15, 18, whatever that age you guys decide to tell her. But I think it's wrong to deceive your kids and make them like you're gaslighting them by saying, why would you take those tests? Like, what are you trying to find out?